just checking in with you guys. I was a little bit trendy with that short. I was a little bit trendy with that. As soon as I saw that group, there were two things I thought about. I thought about Sir Nose, Devoid of Funk from Parliament. I thought about a lot of African music, like Middle Eastern style music. So musically, that group, who shall remain nameless at the moment, I just don't feel like being trendy and jumping on the same things and the topics that all these other larger YouTubers are talking about. While their points are valid and I've enjoyed watching those videos, as far as the fretless bass, I've been talking about the fretless bass for a while. I'm not the only guy on YouTube talking about fretless bass. I know that. I know. Pump the brakes. It's cool. But with the fretless bass, there are so many possibilities. There's so many things that you can unlock. In other videos, I've talked about this, and some of you have been kind enough to lend your expertise or your professional advice on how I should deal with this bass. Well, several months ago, I opened this bass up because I'm like, why is it making all of that staticky white noise sound and ruining my gigs? What is the big problem? Well, I finally figured out what was wrong. So part of it is coming from this pot right here. So this pot right here is what's causing all the noise. So when I turn it up, you don't hear it at first, but just, I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds like a storm is coming. If you were here right now, you would hear that. It sounds like a storm is brewing somewhere in the background. It sounds like a tea kettle is starting to build up heat. And after a while, when you're playing, what happens is while you're playing, it will start to worsen as the gig goes on. So I have finally figured out, I always thought it was the volume knob, but it's this one right here. So you turn it down and the sound gets much thinner. This is my problem. When you look at the back of the soldering job that these guys have done, who have tried to correct my issues, they have made a complete mess back there. So the good news is I finally know why these pickups have been giving me so much trouble, besides the fact that I was stupid enough to take them out and put EMGs in here. Don't ever do that. The Bartolinis are fine. I'm not a fan of Bartolinis overall, but in this bass, they sound great. These Bartolinis were designed for this Pedulla Buzz Bass, and they sound great with it. So I will give you some more demonstrations as the video goes on. I want to keep this short. This video is mainly about the fretless bass. I don't want to take up too much of your time there. It's not a big secret or anything. I've just been holding and sitting on this video forever that I'm going to have to revise and update now. But I've been selling off instruments because I feel, once again, I am determined to declutter my life. For how long are we to keep them? I just think at this point in my life, it's time to start parting with these things. So that's why I'm doing it. And I also feel like, hey, while you can only play one bass at a time, sometimes a song will call for a different bass. And sometimes the fretless bass is just what the doctor ordered. If you're gonna play fretless bass, you don't play any other bass. You play only the fretless. Because whenever I have stepped away from this bass to play other basses, like my P bass for a while, I had the P bass and fretless bass duo, it just didn't work. Like in the middle of a gig, I'm putting down the fretted bass, picking up the Pedulla, and then I got to get all used to it again. When there was a period where that was all I would play was this bass. And lately, I have been playing this bass like crazy. I don't know why, but ever since I got back home, I just can't keep my hands off this bass. I keep playing it and playing it and playing it to make better use of it, to start recording with it again, doing things with it. I still don't think it's the bass that I want to take with me live. I think a better live bass would be the Stingray, the fretless Stingray that I have. For recording, I wouldn't want to take any other bass to a recording. This is the one. Now, if I had a fretless precision bass, maybe that would probably win it out. But in my opinion, I like the sound of this bass more than a precision bass, at least in the fretless realm. So rule number one, get your intonation right. Now, I am one of those people who prefers to use an unlined fretless bass, as you see here. This was my introduction to fretless bass, and I prefer it. And what I do love about it is it forces you to really work on your shapes, like work on your technique and your form and get it right. Because if you are off just a little bit, you hear that. But if you just are off just see how bad that sounds? But if you just hold it straight, you understand? pretty tight chords. The intonation is straight on them. You want to make sure that when you are fretting or fingering, since there's no frets, that you really get your form just right. And what I always do is, especially if I'm going for a chord, for example, with this chord, this is like major chord, I just want to make sure that I get these two fingers perfectly aligned. Do you understand? That way I get a nice solid chord. You see what I mean? This is vital when you're playing fretless bass. This is why a lot of fretless bass playing is typically played in single notes. A little bit of buzz there. I mean, buzz that I don't like. So here's something I normally will fiddle around with on chords on a fretted bass. See, it's a little. So yeah, the sound's a little wonky because I'm having issues with that knob there that I pointed out to you. It's much warmer when I put it to the halfway point. When you want to bend, you have to have a different approach. And if you have the habit of bending the strings like on a fretted bass, you can mess up and bend here, which I'm definitely guilty of. And there are some markings here. But a lot of those markings that are in that fingerboard are due to me using pressure wound strings or round wound strings. This bass has never had flat wounds on it, not even once. So the entire time that I've been playing this bass, I've been using some form of round wound strings. And my favorite ones have always been the GHS pressure wound strings. Pretty hard to find these days, but that is actually what's on this bass right now. There's an old set of GHS pressure wound strings on here, and that I've just never, I always wipe it down really good after I finish playing it, but I just love the sound of them because at first, when you first get them and you put a fresh set on there, they really rattle a lot. So now that I've rambled a good bit, let me try to stick to the main point because, there are a lot of guys out here who are doing phenomenal fretless bass videos. So I want you to know I appreciate your time and I appreciate you watching and getting my perspective because there's people like Tony Franklin. There are a lot of guys out there who are great fretless bass players. They have my respect totally and completely. As someone who has mainly played a lot of rock stuff, I've really had to work hard to prove its worth in the compositions that I have worked on with others. You have to work on playing it all the time and making sure that you know where to be on it at all times. This particular bass has a nick on the back of the neck. It fell one time, and it didn't fall, but it slid. And when it slid, it hit the back of another surface, and it put this nick on there. Well, the funny thing about that nick is if I rub my thumb here, I know that I'm somewhere right around F sharp. This bass is so well made and well designed. When you are in that zone of F on this E string, you've got to get your finger positioning right. It is vital to try as much as you can to keep your thumb behind the neck. I am guilty of letting the thumb slip up and gripping the bass like in a way that would warrant fan frets, but I don't like fan fret basses, but I have my bad habits and things that I do, but I always try to make sure I get right there on the right note. And see, right here, I know if my thumb is on that mark, that I'm gonna be where I need to be. So, you got to really commit to the fretless. You got to marry it because it requires so much work, so much, like you've got to put so much time into it and really feel it and live with it and breathe with it. Doing other things like We were talking about YYZ a couple videos ago, and you know, just stuff like that. It's like this bass, it's a joy to play. I absolutely love playing it. But not every bass is built like a Pedulla, and I think you need to be mindful of that. Because a Pedulla, the way the neck is on it and everything, it's very narrow. To me, it's more narrow than a jazz bass neck. It's more like an alembic. It has this very narrow fingerboard neck on it, very easy to get around, almost to the point to where it messes me up because it's a little too easy. You got to be careful with that too. So the Stingray is a good balance, you know. If you can find a really good precision fretless bass, go for it, but don't pay too much for it either. I mean, you know, keep in mind that when I bought this bass, it was $1,150 before tax, basically a $1,200 bass or so. And I just don't think that you need to invest a ton of money, but you just need to make sure you get somewhat of a quality instrument, right? Because otherwise it's going to be somewhat of a detriment to what you're doing. The only other thing that I want to say, maybe I should do a dedicated video for this. I actually did, and then I decided to scrap it. But I had made a mention in one of the videos about don't buy cheap basses. And some people spoke up about their Squiers. If you're going to get an inexpensive instrument, totally go with a Squier, totally go with an Epiphone, totally go with a Sterling. Those are great budget, inexpensive instruments. They are not in that cheap instruments category to me. Cheap to me is like, hey, I've posted a video about them before, but you know, IYV, that's a cheap instrument, you know? And while I think that for the money, it's fine, you know, I would rather invest that money in entry model Ibanez or, you know, like some of those other brands that I mentioned. You can pick up a Squier fretless bass for, you know, pretty decent price. I think you can get them for like somewhere between $400, $500, $600, $400 and $600. And they're lined, and I've fiddled with them before and played them. They play pretty good. So don't be afraid to make a minimal investment. Just make sure that you go with a brand like that. Don't go with some off brand that you've never heard of before unless it is a reputable brand, like Korean brand. Like, I think that there are a lot of Korean made instruments out there that are terribly underrated, and you should give them a chance. So please, once again, give me your thoughts. If any of you guys are fretless players, I would love to have discussions with you because it's not for everyone. If you told me I had to choose right now, you're gonna have to pick either the fretless or the fretted, and this is the bass I would, you know, call for if there were no other basses. It's easy for me to say that now because I'm not put in that position. The fretless bass, it's great for a lot of stuff, but when you bend on it, I mean, you can bend it, but with this type of fingerboard, even one that's like doesn't have a lacquer finish on it, you're gonna start to scratch it up with the round wounds, but you can do it. But that's the thing that kind of bugs me is I would rather bend like that instead of, even though it has the same effect, not every fretless bass has the sustain that this bass has though. I mean, it's like you hit it and it just holds forever, and you can start to, and it's still going. Look at that. I didn't hit it. I didn't fret it. I didn't pluck it. It's just got this tone to it that's just, and it just holds there. It just holds. It's beautiful. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts once again. I'll see you in the next video.